So we start slowly, easily. I'll read it out loud. We want to write the program for a weather info site. What we need first is to write a list of all the possible weather types. Better to define, for example, cloudy and windy separately, meaning no need for entire entries like cloudy and windy. So we will deal with that later on, meaning we want to make an application with multiple choice. We can choose that it's cold, it's windy, and it's rainy, or it's about to rain, and we just type this type of well, we can make it a list, we can make it a tuple as well. It doesn't matter, but let's just continue with lists for now. So what we do?
What is a tuple? I mean,
tuple is basically a list that is immutable, meaning you cannot change any elements of it. Later on, it works a bit faster with memory, so it might be better. For example, if you define things that do not change at all, then you're going to use a tuple for that. Because we predefine over here, we predefine possible weather types: cloudy, windy, and the opposites of all, in no particular order. But the thing is, if we introduce it this way, and then we want to, for example, sort it in alphabetical order for our convenience, then you cannot really do that with a tuple. So for now, for learning, let's just stick with a list so we can use some of these comments we had. So if you guys also make your list, they don't have to be the same. Maybe someone gonna have some nicer positions, but for now, what can I come with? Cold and warm. Just, well, anything that comes to your mind. How can it be? It can be wet. It doesn't matter. These terms don't have to be used at all. Or maybe not wet, it's humid. That's the thing, the word for it. Humid, dry, rainy, snowing. Or just snow. Okay, I think that covers some parts of this type of weather we can get. So we have defined this type of list of different type of weather that one could encounter, I guess. So the next part of the task is we want to list them out, all the parts of this list, and the recommended for loop. One can just do it different ways, like with a while loop. If one forced it, then one would have to also use the length command to figure out the length of the weather lists to know how many times to iterate. Then the while loop would be possible, but why bother for an element in weather? And we just print element, and this way we have it done. We list all types of weather we can encounter. As simple as that. And obviously, this doesn't look good for a program, right? It's just doesn't give you any idea what it's about. So the next task is to make it look better. So what we do is changing the loop a bit. So actually it can print out some nice things. So the thing is, we ask for the loop to print how is the weather. So we just put it inside the apostrophes and just type print. If we place this one in the loop, it will print it every second line, so that wouldn't be very forthcoming. But in this case, well, we can work with that and type, and we need to figure out how to add numbers to this different type of elements. So obviously, if one defines, for example, I is just used for iteration quite often. I is equal 1. And then what we want the program to print. Well, I wrote over here that I want it in square brackets. Well, this is possible, but let's just start it with little steps. I made it print an I and the elements of the array. Well, that's good. And what else do we need? Well, obviously, if we run the code now, all the elements will have the same number, 1. So, you guys remember, I plus equal 1 will solve that problem. Now everything is numbered very nicely. Well, almost very nicely. In the end, we wanted to have it in a nicer form, like this, with the square brackets. We can work on that. There's several ways of doing that. Let's check different ways. So one of the ways is just this boring way of adding this square brackets like that. It's not gonna look pretty, no, but it works, right? This is a string, this is a number, this is a string, and together they make something like that. Also, there's another possibility. Number order number, let's call it like that. And one could I wonder if it will be possible to just add different things together. Will it look any better? And over here, I think we need to convert it, the number to string, because it might be giving us an error if we add a number and a string together. Okay. So instead of
what is
yes?
O number? What is O number?
It's like order number. It's just a variable name. I can call it ON or.
Oh, this is just a name that you
just
picked.
Just a name. Yeah, the name I picked. And if I type it like that, this way, somehow I managed to get it like with no spaces, which is nice because the print comment between each comma, it gives this space, but I managed to pass it by just doing some simple concatenation of the strings, meaning adding them together. So thanks to that, I got it nicely looking like this. But there's another way. If
order, is it index?
Yeah, index is also
okay.
fine.
Okay. Because
Index.
I forgot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You name it what you want. And obviously, if someone reads after you, it's good that more people understand, right? So there's this
Yeah.
another way of putting it. Where do we have it? Modify format. There it is. Meaning that we can define something like this. My name is John and I am, and just put these curly brackets over here. And the way to insert data into the curly brackets is using this format command. So we take the string that we want to modify and use this format command to input H inside this curly brackets. We can try that. It should also work. So this is like one way of doing it. So there's many ways of doing different things. So I'll comment it out and let's try this fancy way. Let's call index equal to I open the square brackets. I now insert this curly brackets inside. Spacebar and another curly bracket. The format takes as many elements as you introduce. It looks kind of strange, but I believe it should work. So what we do, we print index format, and over here, the first thing we want to put in is I, and second, in this curly bracket, what we want to put is the element from this array. And I believe it should work. And actually it did work, though because we wrote so little, that's why this whole thing looks a bit strange. But basically this is the square bracket that we have here. That's the one here. The one is this, in the first curly bracket, we insert this I, and the second curly bracket, we insert the element, which is this. So that's another way of doing the same thing. Which is better? Well, I don't know. Whatever works for you better, I guess, at this point. This is more fancy, but I think this will be a bit easier later on when we have lots of different elements. This one with adding it, converting numbers to strings, adding together, it also works, right? That's also a way. This one maybe is a bit simpler to understand. This one introduces a new comment format. Well, it's just not that easy, but all you need to remember, whatever you put inside, it puts inside this curly brackets. So if you put something else, another I, then I think it should pop an error. Well, actually it doesn't pop an error because it knows what I is. If we put J, it says J not defined. But as long as we put something that's defined, like the whole array weather, what did I do? The whole array weather, it doesn't mind as long as there's no another curly bracket. As we have 3 curly brackets, it is going to just print the whole list. And if you have yet another curly bracket, well, we can check what happens. I have no clue. Okay, so it says replacement index 3 out of range because we had too many curly brackets and nothing that is saying what this bracket stands for. In other programming languages, there's also this type of injection, but it looks a bit different than this. It's called the injection into the string, at least in JavaScript. In C++, I don't remember, but I think there should be something similar to this. Okay, so we managed to get different type of weathers in this type of a list. And what we're missing is this one element, 0, end. So we go outside the loop and just print the last one. And that should cut it. If someone got more numbers, it's fine. The idea of this is it's like a menu that it's going, when we start the program, it's going to print that. And it's going to ask what kind of weathers you're going to select. So next up is over here, a script to ask users for numbers. So different weather types can be chosen. The tip is we did use this integer input something, right? So that's what we have to use. So following this, I mean, we can write it here. It doesn't matter that it's not in the order. Like this one can be here. It executes one by one. Later, we can just remove it and look at it as it is. For now, let's just follow as it goes. And this something is a text. How do you want to entice the user to input something? Because if you don't write anything, something like that, then, well, obviously just ask 1, 2, 3, 4, and you don't know what to write. And it doesn't matter for most cases. The problem was it could not convert it to integer. And if you guys remember the code we did before, over here, when we asked for input, we saved the result of this input into some kind of variable. And that's a good thing to do. So we're gonna do the same. Price equal, and over here, please select. So this way, it asks us to put an integer. If we enter a letter, it will say that it got issues with converting it. So as long as we enter any number, no matter how ridiculous, it will be fine with it. But obviously, if it's too big, it's not going to select any of the items from the list we did. So that's the next step. Now we are able to record one single entry from the user, but we want the possibility of multiple inputs. That is why in previous task, there was the 0 at the end for stopping input to loop.
I have one question. On line 24,
Yes.
I tried to do the same, print end. So basically you add that to the previous list, right? And then this is the last, basically, yeah, the 0 end. If I do that, it says indentation error, unexpected indent.
Okay.
What did
As
I
you
do
see
wrong?
over here, whatever I write here, it's following this one tabulator.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
it's not the
so all
tabulator.
of these are at the distance of one tabulator, and the whole for loop ends with adding 1 to this.
Yeah, I
I.
see one was inserted or not inserted. So I did it insert now. Now it's working.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thanks.
And over here, as you can see, there's no tabulators. It's just at the edge. Because this one is outside the loop. It's outside the loop because if it's inside this particular loop, it will kinda spoil things. Okay, so now it gives us a tip to use a big while loop over everything so that one can input and input and input till the moment that the 0 is chosen. Wait, here I have a question. Would I use to get rid of this backspace. I don't get the question. Which one is it referring to, Pekka?
Just when you had these brackets, and if you wanted to get rid of the space between bracket and index, you would put bracket and then \b, so it would sort of backtrack one step, and then it would.
Okay, yeah, well, that's also possible. I mean,
But would it be acceptable sort of thing? Is it something that one should never do? Is it
no,
dirty?
I don't think it's unacceptable, because in the end we're just fooling around in terminal. In the end, that's how people made applications in the C language, C++ maybe, these basic applications. But basically for Python, this is just a way to train. And in the end, we're not going to use much terminal. We're going to use some libraries to visualize this type of input, so we can make some visual graphics and stuff. So this is just for training. So as long as it works, I don't think there's any harm. And there are many of this type of
Many ways to skin a cat.
yeah, exactly. So here we have the whole list of this type of escape
Yeah.
characters. Like when you're already writing in quotations, you get to write different type of comments, and there is this backspace, right? So
Yeah.
it also gonna work. So it just prints out this text here. Anything's possible. So so the idea was that well, I can just comment this out, make it this way, and yes, I'll just write another line, right? It's actually quite. Mhm. So with this way, it writes with these.
Yes.
So the idea would be of
No,
Right.
backslash, not.
yes.
And don't put the space between the brackets and the backslash, please. Yep,
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to.
Actually, that's not here, but
And then, yes.
yeah, but what did I do? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it could work, but the
Yeah.
thing is, one would have to work on it a bit.
Yeah.
Let's do it this way. It works right over here, but
Yeah.
the problem would be here. What
Yeah, because it would
do-
delete the opening brackets. So let's
yeah,
forget.
I wonder if I do it like this. Format Is there a problem?
Let's not get stuck with this, please. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, anyway, there's many ways, and this almost works if you worked a bit on it, right?
Yeah.
Just a bit. So let's just leave it as a to be finished. If someone is interested, it might work. So let's just skip with this one. So we managed to select this weather type. Now we want to use a big gigantic while loop to enclose everything in it until we use the escape character. Yeah, well, that doesn't matter. I'll just delete this text because it's just not useful anymore. Okay, I'll make the terminal a bit shorter. And we're back here. What's the time? It's yeah, in 10 minutes we can make a break. I don't know how much time you want to break. 10, 15 minutes or 20. Just
10, 15 sounds good.
Yeah, okay, then 15 minutes, but in 10 minutes time, we'll make the break, okay? And let's continue on this code. So the whole idea about this was to put some part of the code in while loop. So the part of code that is going to repeat itself each time is probably this part of code that I highlighted, because we want to have the same phrase repeating itself until we're just sick of inserting stuff. So over here, while, and now the condition, the input we have, it's called choice. So while choice is not equal 0, do this. The whole thing might not run because choice is not defined. So I'm afraid we have to define choice as something. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, well, I just put a random number. Probably there's a better way of doing it. In JavaScript, one can define it as null or something. I'm not sure here. Well, if one doesn't know, one can just write it. Python. I write in this type of how I would write it for JavaScript. Yeah, I think it's called none. And probably it's well, it's not smart. We got problems already. Again. Yeah, okay, it's good. So we can just define it as define. Okay, and in this case, we get to choose all the time whatever we want, well, except letters, until we type 0. When we type 0, that was the idea, the whole program stops. And thanks to that, we get outside the loop, and we can just, for convenience sake, outside while loop. So each time we type a 0, we exit the loop, and we get outside the while loop. So that's one part of the program we wanted to do. There is another part that we wanted to do because people made multiple choices, and we want to record that. And that's why we want to use append. Yes?
Okay, so when I ran this now, I'm literally stuck in the loop, my terminal. So how do I get to 0?
Yeah, it's a good one. You click on the terminal and press Ctrl+C. Or yeah, because you're on Mac, so maybe this comments. Yeah, I don't recall, but I think Ctrl+C. Ctrl+C 2 times, and it should break the code. It's like when I run the code, and I can break it anytime I want. It's called the keyboard interrupt.
Okay, yeah, worked.
Yeah, so the problem is we never remembered the choices that were made. So what we want to make is another variable over here before while loop, because we want to use it later globally. Inside the loop, one can also declare some variable globally, but let's just do it this way for now. So this is a choice list, and we just make it an empty list. Let's copy this. So the idea here is to, each time a choice is made, we're going to append the choice to the list. And this way, we can see if we get what we want. So I run the program now. I'll just type 1, 3, 6, and 0. And as you can see, we got 1, 3, 6, and 0, but we don't care about 0 actually. So we have to remove it. The easiest way, if you guys remember, is just to pop it. It just removes the last item. So we can have 5, 4, 3, and 0. And there we have 5, 4, and 3. Just what we wanted. So this way we got almost what we wanted, but now we need to improve on that. Because the problem is, what if someone chose 5, 5, 5 because it was so warm on that day? They thought of just inputting it several times. But the idea is the final message we're going to make is going to be like the weather. Today is going to be warm and warm and warm, and it's just not going to make sense. So we need to either, well, there's several approaches, right? We need to either remove F5 from it. I mean, just we go with just 1, 5 of the 5s. I mean, the unique values. So the one approach is to go for unique values, or make it so that a thing can be chosen only once. The question is, which one is simpler to make? Well, that's something worth thinking about.